Welcome back to Senate Sunday, you divine lions and lionesses. I'm your host, Brad Wozni, joined by this amazing founder and inventor of quantum technology, because no bees, no food, no future equals no planet, no mankind, no life whatsoever. Stay tuned, enjoy this, and here's what the automation of our thumbnail has to say about this show. We'll see you in the live chat soon.
No bees, no food, no future, a crisis no one saw coming. But the solution is here. Quantum technology changes everything. This is the breakthrough we need. Our future starts now.
Welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show, all of you divine lions and lionesses. I'm your host, Brad Wozni. You know we stand for love, levity, and liberty, because love is the greatest power in the omniverse, from our great omnipresence of divinity. And as Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, make sure that you become aware of the law of vibration and harmonics. And math is also key to this. And what I'm really grateful to have here is a fellow Canuck who is an entrepreneurial patriot, serial entrepreneur now, with Brent. You might have seen 4RB's shows making its way around the world just in the last 3 years since they really came out and launched. What's really important for the audience, you guys, to understand is when I was going back through my Reiki 2 to Reiki Masters, one of my teachers taught me about some Egyptology and the fact that honey goes back 5,000 years and was in greater need than gold in terms of a currency for trade. And many people know that honey, natural honey, does not break down. You can open jars of it from 5 millennia ago, scoop it out and eat it. But there's something really key to that, because if we lose the bees on the planet, then we've really lost the planet. So it's kind of up to us. So Brent is here and really appreciate it, and happens to live just right down the road from where I did my infantry battle school, near Meaford, Ontario. So it's fantastic to have you on here, Brent, and really appreciate what you're doing as an enlightened entrepreneur for the planet and the bees.
Well, right off the bat, Brad, so nice to finally meet you. And as I say, like, we have such common ground about where we were and where we grew up. And that's exciting because that's rare for me. And also very grateful for you bringing us on and allowing us to speak to your audience and let them, to let everybody know what we're doing and how it's connecting, and, how many people are participating with us. But again, thank you for having us on, and so nice to meet you.
Yeah, mahalo lui noa, as they say in Hawaii, in the ancient language of the Lemurians, Brent. Appreciate it. One of the things about the bees I came to be aware of in 2012 or 13, I saw Walmart had a patent application on robot bees. And I remember an X-Files episode back in the day. I used to love X-Files in the 90s, watch it every Sunday night when Scully and Mulder came on. And there was an episode that they had Africanized bees, turned them into robots, and they were, using them as bioweapons. So the fascinating aspect to that, and what I mentioned in the intro, is there's something to the fact that these pollinators, that if we lose them, we lose the planet, and that's not anything to be taken lightly. So what is it from your background, Brent, as I mentioned, a serial entrepreneur, that brought you to get involved in this? And why do you think that frequency could be thy medicine, like Einstein has said all those years ago?
Well, it's a great lead into it, because really, my background, I wasn't connected to ecology or the climate in any way. As a background, really, typically in life, I was doing one thing that then led very, very, very specifically to what I'm doing now with the bees. Just to answer your question, the bees are responsible for about 70% of our food sources, but that's only one reason that it's critical that they're looked after, that we don't lose them. They're also they're a trigger, and they're a red flag for other ecological environmental issues. So to lose the bees means that it's really connected to us, not just from food source, but for many other reasons. And we'll talk about that. It gets into the electromagnetic fields and the EMFs and 5G and so forth. So it gets into what we're exposed to because we live in our own little hives too, called our homes, and we're exposed to the same thing that's bothering them. So that if that becomes critical to them, it becomes critical to us as well as the food source. So I'll leave it at that because you were mentioning as to how important they are. Now, my background is really in mathematics, as you were referring to before, because everything is math. Everything. The fact that you and I are speaking on this format right now is all math, because that technology that's allowing us to do it, and the phones and everything we have and what that's doing, is absolutely amazing for what it's letting us do here. And it does a fantastic job at it, but it's not good for our health wise, cellular wise. It has nothing to do with that. It does what it does. Now, in my background with forensic mathematics, I was dealing with coming up with the algorithms in the early days of the 90s, late 80s, 90s, to do with Interact and moving debit and credit instruments as to how we would move digital money around. Those were the infancy days of that. So my fascination really with math and in those integral moments is where I discovered a thing called sacred geometry, that there was principles and shapes that were very, very prevalent, not only in nature, but in our past, in our history, in every aspects of our life. So that just fascinated me. And I took that on as a hobby to find out why these were so prevalent in nature and in everything, and all our religions. It's everywhere. So I started to go down the path of understanding what that was. But I was in corporate world, and I was dealing with accomplishing what we were doing. And we started a company called Tangerine, which later on became Tangerine Banking. And we had a boutique for doing stores for credit, debit and credit. And then that was sold in 2008. It was a public company, and that freed me up at my age and time, that I was only interested in things like health, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And I wasn't interested in pursuing any more corporate and business at that time. And I went into research, and I really got fascinated by, energetic medicine and what was going on. I'd never heard of it. I hadn't been involved in it. And so I started to go and researching. And lo and behold, I found out that back into the sacred geometry that I was hobbying, it tied into a lot of being able to create and change frequencies, because everything is a frequency, but it's chaotic. In order to lock it down and change it, it requires certain principles and bonding agents. And that's what I started to pursue. And it was a great time in my life, because I so enjoyed just the discovery of it. And it was like going back into, ancient times, understanding what they were doing versus what we do today. And I discovered that we live in a world of chemistry. That's why, we have pharmaceuticals and cleaning solutions. It's all really chemical and chemistry. And I was fascinated, because I heard a terminology where they said we used to use what was called exploratory surgery, so that when they want to find out what was wrong with you, and not too long ago, they used to have to cut you open to do it. They used to have to, they had to do surgery. Well, that's all gone. They use frequency medicine for that, MRIs, CAT scans, and so forth, right? Ultrasounds. But then when they go to treat, they go right back to chemistry, and they start using drugs and so forth, which have side effects, which again, so they're not, but we're already using frequency to diagnose. So it's only a step until it has to treat. That's because we need to get into physics. Physics is where it's at for us. That's where we are. That's where we come from. That's where nature is. And that is where this has to move to. So it fascinated me, and I started to go down that path. And I built a lab that blocked out all interferences, called the Chrysalis Lab. And I started to, and we'll get into showing this. But I thought maybe what we'll do is, if you like, is I have a little film called The Story We Need to Remember that started to make me aware of the shapes that I saw everywhere, and that what they really meant, what they turned into, and basically how they affected us at a cellular level, and why it was a blueprint. So that was something that gives the basis, and then we can go on and talk about what we integrated that in and got going with the bees.
Very cool. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's roll with film, as they say.
Okay.
But to truly understand the principles of this technology, we need to first examine where we come from, where we are now, and where we are going. Our ancient ancestors possessed a profound knowledge that we are only coming to understand today. Throughout human history, in every time period, in every culture, in every major religion, one geometric shape has continuously been present throughout the ages: the star tetrahedron. This perfectly aligned six-pointed star has been discovered in almost every religious culture in human history. It's been found in the architecture and decor of ancient Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and Islamic mosques. It has also been found in ancient civilizations and cultures throughout Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. However, with all its references in ancient texts and artwork, the star tetrahedron was not often used as an exclusive symbol to represent any one religion or culture. Historically, the star tetrahedron was regarded more as a divine diagram with the potential to connect us to a higher power. A broader example of the star tetrahedron can be found in another symbol revered by the ancients: the flower of life. The star tetrahedron's six-pointed geometric shape is very prominent within the flower of life pattern, where its shape multiplies infinitely within it. These shapes were revered by the ancients as the symbols of the creation of energy and frequency, the blueprint of all matter. But in reality, these ancient symbols are actually two-dimensional representations of a three-dimensional object, the atom. The atom is one of the most important scientific discoveries in quantum physics. It is regarded by science as the building block of all physical matter, energy, and frequency. The atom contains a nucleus, which is made up of protons and neutrons. Electrons, through electromagnetic force, orbit the nucleus. This combination of geometry, magnetism, and motion creates frequency. Everything that exists in the universe, from solid objects to living organisms, contains this exact atomic material. The core denominator that makes one object different from another object is frequency. Frequency is the catalytic force that dictates the design of all the structures of matter in the universe. The atomic symbol is an exact representation of these principles, and so was the star tetrahedron in ancient times. In fact, looking a little closer around the nucleus of the atomic symbol, we see a familiar shape: the star tetrahedron. This is no coincidence. And it's no coincidence that the star tetrahedron's geometric pattern aligns perfectly with the electromagnetic structure of the atom. The ancients knew what science has only discovered within the last 100 years, that everything that exists in the universe, including all of us, is merely a combination of energy, frequency, and vibration, and that we are all intrinsically connected by it. The star tetrahedron and the flower of life are the geometric blueprints of this profound architecture. Today, the star tetrahedron and the flower of life pattern can actually be seen on a microscopic level through mitosis, the process of cell division and the creation of life. Humans begin as a single cell. That cell then multiplies into 2 cells, and these 2 cells then multiply into 4 cells, in a multiplication pattern that continues trillions of times over until we are formed. When observed through a microscope, we can see that this growth pattern is literally mirrored by the pattern of the star tetrahedron and the flower of life symbols, giving us further evidence that these geometric patterns represent the creative power of all matter. Furthermore, within each one of us, there are over 100 trillion cells, and within each cell, there are over 100 trillion atoms, all releasing powerful quantum energy. The astronomical amount of atoms in the body, all simultaneously releasing these quantum frequencies throughout every cell, creates a massive accumulated frequency that surrounds and flows throughout the body. This vibrational force is known universally as the torus field, and it surrounds everything in nature, as well as our entire planet. The Earth's torus field can actually be observed in the aurora borealis. The torus energy within our bodies is designed to symphonize with nature and the Earth's torus field. Frequency connects us to nature and the Earth in ways we could never have imagined. Our torus field is responsible for maintaining our health from a cellular level. 10 to 20 billion cells die every day, and an equal amount of cells are replaced by the body. The difference between people who rebuild healthy cells versus unhealthy cells is determined by what we are exposed to within our environment. If we are exposed to the harmonious energy fields of the Earth and nature, our bodies will continuously rebuild healthy cells. But if we are exposed to unnatural, non-harmonious frequencies, our bodies will rebuild unhealthy cells. Harmonious frequencies are the keystones of our health and well-being, and the electromagnetic force of the star tetrahedron and the flower of life pattern creates these harmonious frequencies that we now know are essential for life.
Brent, that's an excellent video on pulling it all together for anybody who might even doubt, how frequency is part of our creation, and then also the process with those two incredible symbols, the Star of David representing the Merkabah as well for people, and the capability of our soul to actually be a possession of our physical body right now in this lifetime. So we need to keep upgrading that. I love it. Amazing.
Yeah, well, but there's so many things to it. Like even in a cool story, just as to how weird this is.
Yeah.
And you'll like this because we're exposed to it. So when you're in the States and you look at law enforcement, or even here, right? Yeah. You look on the shoulder and they have the star tetrahedron, the 6-pointed star, which literally means, right, which is into there. But a lot of police forces, they have the 5-pointed star. So 5-pointed star, right, is man-made law. It's physical. It's our physical senses, like touch, feel, right? So literally they're enforcing man-made law. Once you go to the 6th, then it's beyond that. Now it's in the ethereal, right? So but it literally is stuck on their chest, right? It's everywhere. It's mind-blowing, right? It's right in front of us. But this is the key. Everything, you, me, every insect, every plant, we all start out like that. Yep. We all look exactly the same, whether you're a bee, whether you're an ant, whether you're a reptile. That's how we look. And then we go into our DNA. So this then is attached to this. So what I realized I had to do is I had to bond it. In other words, to get the exact frequency that I was looking for to affect this. There's frequencies do wonderful, wonderful things all over for different reasons. But if I'm looking to affect cellular, in other words, build up the immune system of cellular, that certain frequencies is what I was looking for. And that one particularly works. So I had to figure out the mathematics and come up with the model, and that's what it looked like. So it comes into a model of specific math, and then, okay, so now I've got the frequency, but how do I bond it? The only way I can bond it without getting into, again, chemistry, if I'm in physics, I either have to have crystals or I need magnets, particularly powerful earth magnets is what I was looking for. So I picked the strongest in a neodymium magnets. Basically, each magnet is over 4,200 Gauss, 4,000 Gauss, which is 48,000 in it. And it looks something like this. Those are the magnets inside. They're bonded. And then it goes inside a casing, which looks like this. And it's about the size of this on here. Now, when you expose us to it, close to it, or the bees or animals or whatever, it immediately starts to take that frequency because the magnets bond that shape and they hold it, because what I do is I put the magnets in this shape and then I don't let them come together. So in other words, they're doing this, but I hold them in place. Therefore, it creates the frequency consistent. right? And it'll do it with neodymium. It'll do it for 20 years. They don't lose their magnetism for up to 20 years. That's why I picked that magnet. So what's going on is it's radiating out, Now, this has about a distance of 1 foot, like it's measured to 1 foot, then it starts to dissipate. And so that's why it has to be close to the body, so for humans. But with the bees, I put it in the hive and they have to go over it to get in and out of the hive. So they're exposed to it. And what it's doing is, so when bees are exposed to pesticides, or just like us, or they're exposed to EMFs or 5G or certain pathogens and parasites, what this does then is it counteracts with that, because it builds the immune system back up so you can withstand it. Because we're all getting, like, that's why some of us are all getting exposed to the same thing, and some get sick and some don't. It's the immune system, because it's the body that's always fixing itself. The pure wave cell that I'm looking at here, it doesn't fix the body. What it does, it allows the body to fix itself, because it blocks out those interferences, right? So the body knows how to fix itself, but we pollute it so many ways, either through food, which is a frequency, and those pathogens are coming through right through your groceries, or what you're exposed to. Now, all viruses, including all flus, all virals, all COVID, those are all frequencies. There is no other way to dispute that. That is what it is, just like everything. Now, how are you going to counter that? Well, just like sound canceling headphones, you take one frequency to cancel out another. It's as simple as that. You neutralize it. That's where the physics comes in, and there's no side effect. You can't have a side effect with that. So unlike when you're taking a pharmaceutical, it goes after a particular subject but then it has a side effect, because it's not the way to fix the root cause, right? So that's basically how that works. So that's why it fascinated me, particularly for my own health and so forth. So I went down that and got all kinds of results. And in 2015, I was made aware that we were, because I didn't know this, that we were losing massive bee population, and people were telling me this. And they said, well, look, if that's working so well with humans, and plant, why don't you see what it can do for the insects or for the bees? And so I thought, okay, well, I started, I found an organic beekeeper, and I finally convinced her to let me do this. And we split her hives in 2015, and we took half her hives. So they were all in the same area, so they're feeding on the same pollinating and food and flowers. And we put half her hives of the 7 with the pure wave cell and half without, and just let her do what she would do normally. And the results were was outstanding, phenomenal. I mean, the production of honey was 3 to 5 times the varroa mites that
3
were
to
attacking.
5 times the production of
3
honey.
to 5 times onto it. And we've got all these films and stuff talking to Christine, because those bees became super immune. And it was basically about 240 pounds in per hive in versus 20 in her other hives. It was that radically different. And varroa mites that attack bees and are a problem for taking bees and killing them, were almost non-existent in those hives versus the other ones, right? And again, that's just having a strong immune system. It wasn't that we were killing varroa mites. It's just that the bees were able to fend it off, and it was not an issue. So then what happens is the mites just took off somewhere else, right? So that was phenomenal. Now I went, okay, that was in one instant, and that was pretty cool, and I was happy with that. But I was also right at that time, I was doing a lot with humans used to come into the Chrysalis building, and we'll bring up what that looked like. It was a lab that people would come into, and
it's a great name, because butterflies, chrysalis, everybody, can make that association. And you built a Faraday inside that as your lab is amazing.
Yeah. And I was going to see if Lisa can bring it up while we're talking, yes, that's the building right there.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Bucky Fuller would be so proud of you. That looked amazing.
I can't even tell you what kind of things went on in there. And we can have a whole other topic, because I don't want to get off track here for
Sure.
what we're
That's
trying to tell everyone.
cool.
But you and I can have another show. I'll show you what's inside that and what's going on. I mean,
That would be
I have light
amazing.
therapy. Yeah, it's killer, like
Yeah. Yeah.
for what to do. But what I
Wow.
was looking, see, and
So
it
cool.
blocks out all interferences, so cell phones don't work in there, and all that stuff, right? So when you go in there, you're now in this cocoon environment where all the stuff that's naturally hitting us isn't hitting you anymore, and you should see how people reacted to that. And
Yeah.
it was crazy good. And so I was doing a lot of human testing, but then and you and I were talking about this. I decided, I get excited when I'm talking about this, because I was
Yeah.
having such a good time dropping out, just learning things. It was so much fun. But I went, you know what? Because people say, oh, you got to do this, and people need to. I go, no, 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 no. I'm not going to pursue the human health. Now, human health is more complex because of emotional issues, mental issues, and so forth. So I thought, the bees that I was dealing with is they have no placebo, so they're just going to do what they're doing. I'll get a pure form on that. I'll be able to identify what I'm looking for without bringing. Plus, the more success I have in that, I can do something with it. Whereas in human health, the more success I have, now you got people coming at you for their own reasons, right? So I thought, okay, and I started going down more and more, dealing with plants, animals, insects. And then we came into just before COVID. I was doing some other experiments, and it was really exciting with to do with lighting and sound, mixing with the pure wave cell. And then I built this other instrument, which will show you it's called the Chrysalis E, and it looks like a little Ark of the Covenant, and it is the mother lode of this. So it has tetrahedral alignment. It has 310 spinning cylinders that I can create all the different frequencies from PEMF, pulse electric magnetic,
That's
and we'll show
amazing.
that. That's what. Yeah, this is the mother
You're
lode
giving
of
off, you're
really
giving
where
off
this comes from.
infrared plasma that you can't see with the naked eye, but you can be able to see under, the different type of like acrylic photography microscope, videography camera.
Oh, well,
That's
we'll
incredible.
actually show you that.
That's
We'll show you that live.
incredible.
Now that you're saying
My
that. Yeah.
God.
So
Holy.
this is where the human healing was coming in. And but
Yeah.
then COVID hit, and I thought,
Wow.
and people kept asking me, Brent, you got to do something with the bees, the bees, the bees. So COVID hit, and I was encouraged by a few different people, and I honor them for that, for pushing me out of my comfort zone. I was in this really great comfort zone,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, there's nothing else to do during COVID. So I put the business plan together for 4RBs as a mission-driven company. So I thought, okay, if I can go out there, I know there's two things about the bees. Yes, there's the health part, but beekeepers control 96% of all bees, and financially you got to help them. Without beekeepers, we don't have bees. So that's where I put the model together, and I said, I got to go out. And how do I support beekeepers? Well, I've got to give them technology, food sources, again, and for nothing, at no charge. So there's no business. It's not me going and selling them stuff. It's the public that buys the honey that we get from these hives, these healthy hives, and we'll talk about that, and the technology for themselves. And then we turn that into what we give to the bees and the beekeepers. And so that we supply all that. And so then I got some commercial beekeepers on, gave them the cells, and then we did a 3-year study with Dr. Magda Havas out of Trent University, because we had to go all over to make sure it happened in every area, not just in one area. And we finished that about 8 months ago. That's done. It's on our site. It's complete. And so it's absolutely a winner. And it does it. And we have a whole with our team, our 4RBs team. We're building up hundreds and hundreds of beekeepers, and we're sending out more and more cells, food sources. We pay for all the seeds, but we can only do as we're growing with the support. But we're spreading it out and out and out, and now we're ready to explode, because we had to wait. We had to wait to get those results before we started to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and so forth. And that started in 2022. And so it hasn't been that long. but I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and that was why I was so reluctant to come out of the comfort zone, because now I'm going to be thrown right back into all over the place, doing all the stuff, and it really has detracted me from a pleasure zone, because that building that I showed you, and you'll love this, is I got to the point where I could go in there when you're looking for a breakthrough, like an idea, when I was doing some of this research, and I would get really focused, attention to intention. I'd get an intention, then put and I actually put that on the building. I had this big carving of the flower of life, and on the back it says attention to intention. So when I would go in to the building, the chrysalis, with a very specific intention, and we all have this, all of us, everybody listening, and go in so focused, and then block out all the environment of the chaos that we're in, the circus we're in, with everything coming at us in the media, block it all out. I would get to the point where I would start to focus, and I'd get a shiver from the bottom of my spine, just like that. And it was like a phone call went out, instant manifestation. I would be getting that in days. It would come to me in a phone call. It would come wherever.
Yep.
And it was so joyful. Again, I was reluctant, because I've lost it now, because I'm back in business and I'm distracted all over the place, good and bad. I'm not in that zone anymore. I have to get back there, right? And I'm just saying that to everybody. Is it's simply a matter of blocking the chaos and the noise. We call that the noise. We block it all out, good or bad, and just get it down to where are you at, what you're looking for, and we all have that ability if we do that. And so that was exciting for me. That building just helped a lot more, because it was a tool to block out that. Mm-hmm. So that's what led then into what we're doing, and now I'm fully at it, and it's becoming bigger, way bigger than me, and I have way better people around me, including Lisa, who's with us now, that are really, really taking up the gauntlet to get us where we need. So we have beekeepers all over Africa, Europe, Australia. Now we're ready to explode out to the world, because we have some of the best honey in the world, because we take only honey from the hives that have the pure wave cell in it. And then we keep it raw, and we cream it so that it is the most amazing texture and flavor. It's only wildflowers. We only get it from certain sources. There's areas where we have beekeepers, but I won't buy honey from there, because they're in where wineries are. So there's a lot of pesticides and so forth. So we right. So we get it from, and so we offer that to people now to be able to have the greatest honey in the world. We have honey, as you say, from 3 years ago. That honey is better than even the new breed of honey. Like, it just gets better if it's kept in the right way. It's incredible.
But it doesn't spoil. It never spoils.
Never spoils, unless it's highly, highly heated or frozen, or And so so we offer that, and when people buy it by the case all over. And as we get that in, and we'll show you what that honey is, and as we deal with the bees. So now we're doing two things. We're building the bee populations. Last year, there was like almost a 70 to 80% loss with bees in our hives. The ones that the pure wave cell in, we experienced a 10% loss compared to the average, which was 70, 80%. Yeah, because we're not in all hives. We're only in a small amount of hives. So we know that once we get out to, hundreds and thousands of hives, and then millions of hives, that bee loss is going to go down to 10 or 15% versus 70, because we already know that right now, right? So that basically is how we're spreading this out. Maybe it's up to you. Do you want to see a video on the pure wave cell, because it shows what it does with the bees, and then you can show the honey, which will get into the Carillion photography you were talking about.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Because we've talked about scalar wave energy, plasma energy, and the fact that frequencies can be for good or bad. And here you have an opportunity, the audience, to let frequency be that medicine, and also be a vibration that is a weapon against the stuff that can transmute, a weapon that transmutes the negative frequencies in your food, in your air, in your water, right? I would imagine it'd be great. And, for many people, it's pretty hard to find copper stills and order it to your house wherever you are around the world. But I would imagine then, Brent, what you could do is take the pure wave cell, get a liter of water and go ahead and energize it, right? Because in Reiki with the food, we also energize the water and the food and your clothing and whatnot before you put it on or whatever you're doing throughout the day. And now you would just maybe put the food on the cell, I would imagine, before you serve it.
Well,
I'm just coming up with this stuff, thinking like, because it's going to have that field. It has a field of a foot plus, you said, for each one.
Well, I'll tell you how amazingly connected you are in what you're saying. We actually sent the Pure Wave cell to a food lab in Quebec, like that only deals, it's called Pathogenia. And what it does is it's strictly a food lab about pathogens and parasites. Yeah. We sent it to them, and we have all the reports here. This is what we'll show you. Oh, and cool. They inoculated chicken and raspberries from the grocery store that had 13 different pathogens in them, including E. coli, Listeria, all of that. With exposure to the Pure Wave cell within 5 minutes, it was in ranging, taking between 60 to 100% neutralizing those pathogens.
Holy, 5 minutes with stuff that was bought from
5 minutes exposure, 5 minute exposure, and not the food just was on a plate. It went right through the plate too, like right. So we'll show you that in the video. We'll show you that in the video.
I want to build wall paneling wherever I go of Pure Wave cells.
We have people that have entire mats that they now order and make out of them and so forth.
Yes. Okay. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I'm freaking stoked about this.
Great question. But let's play that video. Let's play the Pure Wave video. That's cool. It'll.
Welcome to the world of inventions for energy medicine. I'm Bea Broda. According to the Canadian Association of Professional Apiculturists, Canada lost almost 50% of their bee population in 2022. Researchers at the University of Waterloo feel insecticides are compromising the bee's immune system. Dr. Magda Havas, Professor Emerita at Trent University School of the Environment, believes magnetic fields also play an important role in the health and wellness of the honeybee population.
We did some research at Trent University where we were studying the effects of radiofrequency radiation on the bees. We had some beehives at a farm and exposed them to current household items that we have that emit wireless radiation. One of the things we noticed is that the bees started coming out of the hive very, very quickly.
You look at their behavior, they're all just quite happily, they're not running around, they're kind of very settled, they're fanning, they're keeping the place cool and protecting. As these ones are running up and down at the entrance. The sounds here is not normal.
Dr. Havas is participating in a long-term research study on the use of geomagnetic fields to enhance insect and human immune systems and negate the effects of environmental pollution that may be causing the collapse of the honeybee population. This research is based upon a geometric array of 12 high-intensity magnets that are encased inside a hard enclosure to create a pure wave cell. The opposing polarities of the magnets create a spiral vortex that emanate outwards in all directions. This spiral pattern can be observed with magnetic viewing film. Liquid ferrofluid placed in a dish on top of the pure wave cell shows the invisible, evenly spaced magnetic lines rising upwards. This is an internal view of the magnets. A pure wave cell can be used to control the growth of pathogens. The vortex suppresses bacterial infestation. Spores grown in a petri dish that were not exposed to the magnet shows a proliferation of fungal growth. A study has been completed at Pathogenia food laboratories to determine the efficiency to reduce pathogens in food. Brewer's yeast, E. coli, Staphylococcus, and Listeria were added to meat and fruit and then treated for 5 minutes on the magnetic disc. Ground chicken and raspberries were chosen for inoculation. This study demonstrates 3 forms of listeria were not reduced in the chicken, but showed almost a 50% reduction in the raspberries. Surprisingly, 1 form of brewer's yeast grew 50% faster in the meat, while another was reduced a similar amount in the fruit. The various forms of E. coli were eliminated in the raspberries, and all forms of Staphylococcus have been significantly reduced. When you immerse food inside a PureWave, there are many examples of how it can prolong the shelf life. Here, cauliflower remains fresh after several days, while unexposed control samples show signs of food spoilage. Research on honey is carried out here.
The first year we had 10 magnets, and we were quite happy with it. Last fall we ended up with 30 magnets in the 1B yard.
In this yard here, there's about 30 hives. This yard did not get the discs, and when I came in to unpack the hives, half the yard was dead, and the half that survived, there were barely any bees, and they were not looking good at all. And now in this yard, we wintered 30 hives in here. All 30 got the magnetic disc. When I unpacked it, all 30 were alive and overflowing with bees to the point where I had to split almost every hive in this yard. But it's swarming because they've run out of room. Like, it's just a super strong hive.
Dr. Havas feels that the magnets are improving the immune system of the honeybee as they move through the PureWave magnetic field while foraging for nectar in the farms and forest. Many beekeepers have great success with the magnets, not only having a healthy hive, but they have found an increase in the yield of honey. Education plays an important role with the company that produces the magnets. They organize workshops called 4RBs to teach a new generation of potential beekeepers how to plant wildflower seeds in open pastures to help support the health and wellness of our insect pollinators. For more information on how you can help save the bees, visit 4rbs.com.
This is incredible. I mean, you've initiated a global movement and you've taken a business model that is truly something to be examined as a humanitarian business model to literally help the entire planet and the people on Earth. This is incredible. Like, incredible.
Well, I really appreciate that, Brett. Is that this is now we're at a base that we this year will be going worldwide, and we're doing a massive campaign so that we're looking to really affect about 800 billion bees, and really make a difference and changing. So we just have to take what we're doing and scale it to a larger scale. We have so much support. People are so interested and passionate about bees. And we've been very reluctant to bring in other product, like the product that or what we offer to people is of the highest quality, whether it's a PureWave cell and of the honey. But we'll spread that out as we can go with what we find will be interesting to people. But pledges and donations is where we'll be campaigning, worldwide, and then we'll be sending that where we can give beekeepers massive amounts of seeding, replacement of healthier queens, and so forth, as well as PureWave cells. Our goal is this year is to get out 50,000 PureWave cells to beekeepers all over the world. So, and we're looking to do massive campaign on it, and that will be coming out, and we'll be talking to you about that later, because all the podcasters and influencers and Coast to Coast Radio have agreed to come on, and so we're going to go out to 100 million people and get those donations and guarantee on nonprofit where that's going. And so this is where the movement, it all starts. What's that saying? There's a saying that says, when the right ideas come, all the armies in the world can't stop it, right? So it's the people. It's really all the people who we're talking to that are making this happen. And so we're so grateful, because we're telling the story, but they're the ones coming in and supporting it. And if you like, because I know you'll like this. I want to show the honey video because it'll show how we treat it, where we get it from, how we treat it, and then what that chrysalis E does, and give you that Corollian photography you were talking about.
Yeah, let's go for it. And then people can be the change they want to see in the world by imbibing having a pure wave cell themselves.
I eat that honey every day. You just eat it, right?
Oh, I'm going to get some. Absolutely. Everything.
If you are a honey connoisseur, you'll want to experience pure wave energized honey. It comes from the open pastures of the Grey Highlands, located in southern Ontario, Canada. The unique blend of nectar from wildflowers are a favorite for honeybees that pollinate open fields, farms, and forests within the greater Golden Horseshoe Greenbelt. These bees produce one of the finest honeycombs in the world and are now under great stress. Pesticides are weakening the bee's immune system. It contributes to the growth of deadly pathogens. But there's a solution to that problem. This pure wave cell. It generates a quantum force field of spiral magnetic energy. It has been scientifically proven to deactivate pathogens. When placed inside a beehive, apiaries report an abundance of honey and healthy bees that survive Canada's frigid winters. The honey that comes from pure wave hives is raw, creamed, unpasteurized, and then energized using a special patented quantum technology. Pure Wave honey is a premium private labeled product packaged in a licensed facility that meets FDA and Canadian Food Inspection Agency regulations. It is then shipped to warehouses in Canada and the USA for further processing using the chrysalis energizer. The honey is bathed in the special frequencies originating from rotating neodymium magnets. The chrysalis energizer is manufactured here near Toronto, Canada. This is where the secret ingredient of a unique patented quantum technology was developed and brought to reality. It was originally developed as a Class 1 medical device.
What we're really dealing with here is magnetism into a geometric form and then putting motion to it. So what we have in the instrument is a very specifically cut neodymium magnets, very powerful, set into a sacred geometry shape, 12 of them inside. Then we put this into a situation into 3D. Then we place it where there's 5 of these placed in sequence in here.
Magnetic viewing film displays the pattern of the magnets that pulse the magnetic field as it rotates inside the 3 cylinders. The field intensity increases proportionally with the frequency that is selected. Years of research went into testing the device to determine the ideal frequencies and duration of exposure to fully saturate the honey. A magnetic probe attached to an oscilloscope shows the dominant frequency and the unique shape of the quantum wave. Electrography can be used to visualize the effect of the rotating magnetic field.
It's like really an electrograph.
A vial of honey is placed on the energizer. The corona discharge shows the amount of electrical conductivity of the raw honey. After energization, the entire content of the vial has become more conductive to electron flow. The electrographic image of the honey is used on the logo.
We wanted to then draw from what we've configured into the instrument and put it into a standalone unit, and this is what we use to go in the beehives.
A pure wave cell will emit a corresponding frequency and magnetic field if you rotate it. If you move the cell over your body, it will absorb your bioelectric field. The meter shows over 2,000 volts per meter emanating from inside the cell. Both the pure wave cell and the honey are sold directly to the consumer online. And you will find their products in stores that feature apiary products too. They are manufactured by 4RBs, a company that provides a solution to beekeepers that want to maintain healthy, disease-free hives. Connoisseurs all over the world appreciate their energized nectar from nature.
That's freaking amazing. I love it in so many reasons. You know, when you look at the frequency of linens go up to 5,000 hertz. This is why they don't make things with linens anymore. It's been taken away from our society on purpose. Cotton alone is 100 hertz. You have the honey that it was showing there that goes to at least 1,000 hertz. So just imagine, everybody, what you're imbibing, you know, from water, charger water with the pure wave cell. If I was a parent, I would be putting this in my kids' backpacks to go to school. Not the honey, yes, the honey, but the pure wave cell, you know, from a protection standpoint, because the EMFs, the assault of the EMFs on the children, the kids, all of us, especially in suburban and then urban environments and cityscapes, is just crazy. And you're going back to the time when I was at RIM BlackBerry. We just launched BlackBerry. And then, you know, I was a sales guy down in New York City primarily and on the Department of Defense team to the Pentagon. And, you know, we actually had to measure. So we had the engineers that had to measure the radios that went out to the Mobitac frequency back then, and then eventually bellsouth.net. And then it became, you know, Verizon. We went up to the phones when you get the phone and the wireless email. And the FTC had to regulate the certain amount of times that you were supposed to have it on your body. Remember, BlackBerry had the clip-in belt because of what it actually did. So from a frequential standpoint, everybody, and my point making here, you know, having lived it, been through that, seen what it is, and that you can leverage frequency as a medicine for yourself in terms of imbibing it, having it in your environment, allowing you to tap into consciousness and elevate your consciousness in your life, as well as your body, which could have some incredible properties and healing benefits too, which we've all seen. This blows my mind. And you just showed it right there. It was a minimum of 1,000 hertz. You know, like incredible. That's just the honey. And then the 2,000 volts per meter coming off the magnet, the pure wave.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people realize how incredibly powerful this is. I certainly do. And I'm so grateful.
Well,
there are people like you,
thank you,
you
Brad.
and your company on the planet, Brent. This is amazing.
Well, sometimes things are, when we, you know, like when you we talk about this a lot. When you're looking for the answers to things, you know, it's sometimes simple, but nature always has it, but it's taking the time to pay attention and block out all the noise, because nature doesn't just throw it in front of you, but nature always wins. Nature, when you're talking about us and ourselves, if you're dealing with nature, everything works just like a flow. When you're working against nature, everything's a nightmare. It's as simple as that. So are you, when you're living your life, are you working with nature or are you working against it? It's just a question. But I'll tell you, in most cases, if people were to go 1 out of 10, 8 of them, they're working against nature, for sure. So in my life, I'll have food that I want, such as avocados and bananas, which ripen up pretty quickly. So I always have them sitting on pure wave cell, and they last much longer and doing things. Then I grab it and I put it under my pillow when I sleep at night, because I got all that Wi-Fi and junk and things all over the place. So that's under there. We've actually had 2 reports coming back from the States and Canada, 2 young boys. They were both boys, and Lisa prompts me sometime to tell this story, because I would have never thought of it. And these boys suffered from really heavy nightmares every night. They put that under their pillow. They both went away, and we got those from 2 different people, right? Because they wanted to make a point of it, right? Well, nightmares are from chaos, you know. So that was coming about, and then of course you're sitting and I'm sitting. So right now under here, I'll put it on here where it's put onto here. Is I'm sitting on a pure wave cell. You can have a cushion over it, so you're sitting all the time. Why wouldn't you have that? So expose yourselves. Then the cells. So here's the opposite. If people listening say, "Well, how's that possible?" Right? If you and I, Brad, were exposed right now, if we were sitting and we were exposed to radiation, we wouldn't feel a thing. But 2 weeks from now, our cells start to go into cancer forming zones, right? This is the opposite of that.
The more you're exposed to it, the more the cells build up. It's just like food. They're little batteries. They just get better. Now, remember, 10 billion cells die every day for all of us, and 10 billion more are coming in. Well, guess what? The 10 billion coming in, that's all they know is the good stuff that you're giving it. Now, what's 10 billion over 10 days? What's it over a month? What's it over a year? Now your whole body only understands that. The rest of it's gone. So same as if all of a sudden every day all you do is expose it either through drink, food, or environment, then your body's going down because all those cells get is that pollutant, right? So this is basically, its environment is hugely important, also for humans emotionally and mentally, but and now we have some people that are sending us all kinds of stuff where they're plants that are wilted. They give us wilted pictures. Don't give water. Put the pure wave cell, and it's everything's up without water. So it's just it's incredible. It's nature. It's nature at its finest, right?
Yeah, the body knows how to restore itself to harmony, and so does nature. I appreciate you brought that up, Brent, because roughly it was a decade ago, I read the study from MIT where each organ in our body gives off a different hertz frequency. But if you can restore that organ to its natural frequency, if it gets out of alignment, and just because I'm not making medical claims here, but this is related to the study from MIT, that when it gets out of alignment, then you have dis-ease in the body. But if you can restore that back to its natural homeostatic state of alignment, then you have its natural wellness the way it's supposed to be, right? Living the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's why
this does that from what I'm seeing. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's a stating, as I say, the pure wave cell doesn't heal anything. What the pure wave cell does, and what these frequencies do, is they start to let the body do what it's already naturally doing, because it gets rid of the interference is what we're talking about. So I don't have to make any medical claims like get the pure wave cell to fix this or that. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm saying is if it's just like every day, if you're using it and you're eating good food, which is frequency, and you're using it doing this, you're going to have resistance that other people don't have, that you're not going to get those diseases and things, right? It's as simple as that. So it doesn't, curing something is after you've got a disease. We're talking about preventative, right? And I don't know what age you're at now, but at my age, health is number one. It's the number one thing I think about because I'm into that age group now. And I need my energy to do what I'm excited to do. But without health, I can't do these things. I can't function. So I use the same things. That honey, do not put that honey in hot water like your tea and so forth. That will break down the enzyme. Just eat it. Eat a spoonful of it. Gut health is amazing. By the way, we have practitioners that specifically use the pure wave cell for gut health, for parasites and pathogens, because they integrate it into their own practice in what they're already doing, but they're finding great results with that. So anyway, but we're just glad to be on here with you, talking about driving this mission, doing little things to change what's going on in the planet in a positive way, helping the beekeepers financially and educational wise, because they're seeing the results. Plus, it's no work for them. They don't have to do anything, and there's no cost. And we get that benefit of the honey, back.
Yep. And then the America's spring is right around the corner, in large parts of the world, in the Northern Hemisphere. And this is a great time for people to have this, and also show your own beekeeper, bring it out to people in your farmer's market. All of my Albertan brethren, because I'm an Albertan now, take it out to the Calgary's farmer's market, introduce this to people there too, and then all around the world. And I also just want to say, for people who are listening to this on the podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, you name it, Brent, there is a link in the description right below that give you 20% off code for any of this, which Brent and his company have gifted everybody, and to me, a humanity.
No, we want you to have that. Just for letting us being here with you. So we want to give that back to your people, because they deserve that, and we're so grateful. We're just so honored to be able to do this and be able to tell you what we're doing.
Yeah, truly appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. for everything you do. Definitely going to have you keep coming on. Repeat. I'm only down to doing 8 shows a month now instead of I did 46 in June of last year, shows in 1 month. So just to make sure that we can focus more on building the audience. We've got a couple 10,000 more that happen on other channels in the last 90 days. So I'm going to focus on building those out and bringing people on for specific shows. I'd invite you guys to do this at least every quarter. If not, we can do more than that to get the message out.
Well, what I would love to do with you, just because you being you and your interest is, we can do a little show. We'll dive into that chrysalis building and show you what kind of things were going on in there, and your audience will enjoy. No matter what you are, you'll enjoy it because you're going to see that it was life changing. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. That would be so cool. One of my other mentors was Mark Victor Hansen. His mentor was Bucky Fuller. So when that came up on the screen, I'm like, Bucky Fuller would be proud, right? The geodesic dome as well, in its shapes. Yeah. Thank you very much for what you do, and I encourage everybody to get the Pure Wave cell in this honey right now. If you're overseas, definitely get some Pure Wave cells, a couple of them. As far as I'm concerned, that's what I'm going to be doing after we hang up here, and getting it for myself too, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mahalo, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our blinged Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.